All right.
Oh, did I do that?
Nope, I did it.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If everyone will go on mute for right now, and then as we get interactive, we can come off of mute. Okay. Let me see if I have more people. A couple more people joining in.
I'm just going to let everyone know that if you hear a dog barking in the background, I will try to shush him. His name is Sweeney. One of my clients who I just closed a project with, she has Parkinson's disease, and her dog is staying with me, and I'm in the process of trying to place him with a Schnauzer rescue. So you hear cussing at the neighbors and dog language. It's just him.
I don't know how to do it. Let's see.
It should be in the lower left hand. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Hi,
Yes.
James.
Hi, Mr. Hinton. How are you?
All right, I just want to make sure that I was on.
Is that the James Lineberger that I know? James Lineberger.
Which one do you know?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well, I know a different Jim. I know a Jim Lineberger whose mother was Betty Lineberger. I just did a job for her. She just moved to Florida.
Don't know her.
Okay. I didn't realize Lineberger was
Oh, in this area, it's a big name.
Oh, okay. Well, I did see a building with the name Lineberger on it when driving by one time, and that caught my attention.
There's a lot of Lineburgers up in the Dallas, Gaston area.
Yes, that's where I saw the building. That's right.
I
Okay.
grew up in Gaston County.
There you go.
Nice. Well,
He's a
welcome.
I
I
guess.
go by Warren instead of James.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, I'm still letting people in, but why don't we go ahead and start, if that's okay,
Sure.
Heidi? All
Yes,
right.
that's fine.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anne Marie Warman, the Executive Director for Parkinson Association of the Carolinas. We're so glad that Heidi had time today to be with us during this virtual support group and let us have a little bit of information and knowledge regarding decluttering. As many of us, the new year, so many of us are decluttering, but a lot of people might be doing that to get ready for downsizing and a move. And that's also something that Heidi will talk to you about today. So excited. I'm going to turn it over. Heidi, thank you so much. And we're so glad all of you are here after the new year.
Yes. Folks, if you guys need to find me, one of the best ways to find me is to type in Heidi Life Easier Charlotte into Google. You'll find my website. The phone that is on the website is mine. I fully believe in being approachable and available to my clients. My job is not to become the Jeff Bezos of decluttering. I really want to keep my business small, and I want my clients to be able to get in touch with me when they need assistance. So let's get started. Oh, what happened here?
What?
There we go. Okay, so I was going to ask each of you what made you attend today, but I see so many of you out there that I think I'm going to skip that because I think we could spend an hour talking about each person's scenario and situation. So I apologize for that, but I'm going to assume that we have both caregivers on this call, as well as folks who are wanting to declutter on their own. So if I'm not touching on something that particularly applies to your angle of view into decluttering, speak up or put something on the chat and I'll hopefully see it there. What is Life Easier LLC? Life Easier is a company that I started in August of 2018. Our mission is to protect client mental health through the downsizing and decluttering process, most people do not realize how much psychology is involved both with buying things. I used to be a retail buyer for Lowe's, Sears, and Kmart for 11 years. So I used to sell you stuff. And now I am in the process of helping people get rid of it. I do want to make note that bullying is not decluttering. So if you have a son or daughter or caregiver that says, oh, just get rid of it, or you start to feel tensions rising, that is not decluttering. That's just strong arming you to say, to get rid of something that you may not be ready to get rid of. And we'll talk about that. Besides protecting client mental health, we do that by reducing stress and handling a number of steps in the decluttering process. We try to keep as much out of landfills as possible. I spent, as part of my career, 3.5 years in the trash and recycling industry. I was literally on top of landfills in that job, in recycling centers. So I have my company, myself and the 5 or 6 different people I have working for me. We have relationships with recyclers in other states. We are that rabid about getting things to to recycle it and keep it out of landfills. We also have a lot of relationships with smaller charities beyond the Goodwill and the Salvation Army. So I often have ideas for getting rid of hard to get rid of things. By doing the first 2 things, we're really trying to build our community. We want Charlotte to be a beautiful place, and the surrounding areas. We do work in Gaston County. We've been to Union. Sometimes we'll go as far as Hickory, depending on the job and what's involved. What services do we offer? Decluttering. Decluttering involves literally helping you get rid of things and helping you make those decisions. We never, ever, ever tell you what you can have and what you can't have. The decision is always the client's, but we will help you with the decision tree of questions and thinking about how and why you might want to get rid of something versus how and why you might want to keep something. Downsizing is literally to downsize. Right sizing applies to an audience that is probably going to stay in the same home. They just need to thin out. Usually they will get more stuff later. So there might be somebody who's going from an apartment to a home or a home to a bigger home, and they want to right size into that existing home or that new home. Senior move management, we handle the process from start to finish. If you are someone in a home and you are in a full-size single-family home and you want to move to a senior care community or a family home, we manage the entire project, including the decluttering piece. Estate cleanouts, that's whole estates going. Usually we work with sons and daughters on that. Financial organization, home organization. I don't do as much home organization. That's really making things look pretty, putting labels on stuff. It's a younger audience that typically wants home organization. Most of my clients are so ecstatic that they get rid of stuff that they're elbowing me out of the way because they have so many great ideas for their new space. So I do home organization. It's just my clients get really excited about doing it themselves. So I help them with that process and I give them ideas and I help them shop for the stuff, and we'll sometimes help them set up, but usually they're so excited. Hoarding support. I do work with hoarders. Full disclosure, both of my parents. My father was most likely a hoarder. My mother has been diagnosed with hoarding disorders. We'll get more into that later. I do want to caution you that just because you have a lot of stuff does not make you a hoarder. There are very specific psychological aspects with hoarding. And if you would like more information on hoarding, my website at life-easier.com has a specific page at the top with hoarding resources. Please go there, check it out. It's very helpful info. If you have specific questions, you can shoot me an email. Packing and unpacking, that's really for simple moving. Whoops. For those of you that don't know, I am one of 9 members of the National Association of Senior and Specialty Move Managers. We just changed our name and logo. I still have the old logo on there, sorry. A senior move manager in particular works with seniors 55 and older. We specialize in that age category because there are certain needs associated with it. There are lots of decisions and emotional roller coasters that can happen with that. So I find it really helpful to be part of this organization. They provide training, they provide support, and it helps build credibility. I've been with them for several years now. Okay, who am I and why am I here? My education, I'm originally from the Detroit area of Michigan. I have my bachelor's degree from Michigan State, my master's degree from Wake Forest. I spent 20 years in corporate America. If you notice, I literally began and ended my career as a total product life cycle. I started manufacturing items for you guys. Then I went to retail and sold it to you. And then I worked to dispose of it. So those are the industries that I worked in. I will tell you that my education had nothing to do with my, did not help me at all as a small business owner. For those of you that were small business owners, it comes on grit. I get it. I know it, but some people like to see that I'm from Michigan or that I went to Wake Forest because they might be alumni too. But being a small business owner, it takes a lot of grit and sheer will. I am a daughter and a caregiver. I became a caregiver at the age of 12. My grandmother moved into our family home after my grandfather died. She had Parkinson's disease. And she lived with us for a year, and my mother proceeded to have a nervous breakdown. She was going through menopause at the time, and menopause was not well known. My mother suffers from MDD, which is known as major depressive disorder, GAP, which is general anxiety panic disorder. And it's why she is the reason why I specialize in cases. I handle everybody, but I specialize in cases where people suffer from anxiety, depression. They might have ADD, ADHD, Parkinson, Alzheimer's. I think it takes a special hand. So we provide very compassionate care. Why did I start a business? I had a health scare. 4 years ago, my top line blood pressure went to 186, and I was very worried about stroke. And then 6 months later, my dad actually died of one. So I decided to change my life. And that's what I'm doing now. My mother has stage 4 ovarian cancer. So I actually shuttle between Michigan and Charlotte and care for her 1 week a month. That 1 week a month isn't always consistent because in the summertime, she's usually in a garden somewhere digging up tulips or putting tulips in. Any questions so far? Okay. All right. So why would you hire Life Easier? The other question is, why would you hire a professional? And that's what I wanted to make sure people understood, because a lot of people will ask the question, why on earth would I hire someone? I can do this myself. Oh, thank you, Gail. I appreciate that. She says, sending prayers. Why would you hire a professional? Whether you hire me and my company does not matter to me. If you need help, you should raise your hand and get help. First of all, project management. Tackling a whole house after you've lived in it for 30 or 40 years, even 20 years, can be really difficult. It can be very overwhelming. And the biggest question that I get asked is, where do I start? Time. It takes a lot of time. If you decide to do this on your own, it can take 2 years, depending on how fast you move through decisions. If you're someone that says, yes, no, that doesn't fit, you're going to zoom through it within a couple of months. If you are someone that says, this water glass was given to me by my grandfather, and I don't want to get rid of it yet, we're going to set that aside and we're going to pick something else up. It's going to take a little while because there are some things that we need to go through. Coming to terms with your life and your past and what you want your future to look like is incredibly important. And that's where making sure you have enough time to do it is a good thing. Some of you will just want to pull up a dumpster and throw it in a landfill. I get it. That's not how I do things, but I get it. If that's what you want to do, that's perfectly acceptable for you to do. I find it's a bit more cathartic to go through things and let them go but then again, this is what I do for business, so that makes sense. The other reason you would hire a professional is the muscle. Literally, we have backs, we have, biceps, we're moving things. That leaves a lot more work for your brain. And the reason your brain is important is it's your brain that's going to be making the decisions. If you spend your time during the day moving stuff out of a closet and then putting it into boxes, you've already taken up quite a bit of your day and your mental energy, when really what you wanted to do was go through those boxes one item at a time. So by having a professional come in and help you, your job is solely decision making, not removal, not disposal, not recycling, not dropping off donations. It's just decision making. And typically you get rid of more stuff when you work with a professional organizer or a professional NASM member, senior move manager. And the reason for that is that we're going to walk you through a lot of questions. We're going to get you looking at your things at different angles. We're going to pick up whether things are emotional or they're non-emotional. Non-emotional categories, you're going to go through really fast. Emotional categories, we need to take a little more time. So that's where, do I do it myself or do I hire a professional organizer? I'm going to run you through a test here very quickly to determine whether you should hire someone or not. Okay. How did I get here? How did you guys get so much stuff? Well, did you know that 70% of American GDP is $13 trillion, and that is goods and services? Most of my clients, these are actual photographs of projects that I worked on. These are obviously the befores. I'm not exactly sure how I got so much stuff. I wish I'd started downsizing years ago. Another thing that one of my clients say often is, it's got to be worth something. I paid $500 for it. Something I want you to be aware of is that baby boomers are downsizing at a massive rate right now. 10 million baby boomers over the next 10 years, according to the Wall Street Journal, are downsizing. So the market is flooded with all sorts of china, antiques, and knives and guns and coins and various other things. So if you are someone who wants to sell, you will need to give yourself much more time to go through your stuff, because you may have an ideal understanding for what that stuff is worth, and you may not get it if you sell it quickly, okay? And I do work with companies that can help clients sell things, but I will say that selling will slow your process down significantly. Okay, more home, more stuff. In 1978, the average square footage of a house was 1,755 square feet. It is, as of 2017, it was 2,631, and it has increased by 50%. However, the average American family has declined by 10%. So we are building more houses and we are filling them with more stuff. So how do we get out of this? How do we get out of all this stuff? So step one, you need to stop your inbound flow. I'm really sorry, but you guys need to stop shopping. That's game plan number one, okay? If you stop the inbound, folks, you will be able to devote more attention to what you already have. And you need to evaluate what you have purchased in the past. That's really important. Let me just check my time here really quick. Okay, good. The answer, folks, is not new containers. Do not go out and buy containers until you have decluttered. Most people do the opposite. They buy a bunch of containers, they throw stuff in there and they go, wow, look how organized my garage is. All they did was they took their stuff from the floor and started building it up the wall. And some of you may have houses where the walls are now full. So one of the biggest categories I take out of houses is what you see here, Rubbermaid containers, because we need to get into the decluttering instead of adding more space, which there's only a limit to that. All right, so stop the inbound and evaluate. So these are projects you can do right now. Whatever's in blue throughout this presentation is going to be a project for you. Stop all shopping outside of food. Stop all purchasing of items around the house. So what do I mean by that? If you buy toilet paper in packs of, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Are we supposed to be seeing things? All I see is your pretty face.
Oh,
It's okay.
I can see the screen.
And okay, Anne Marie, can you see a slide that says stop the inbound and evaluate?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so is that Robert?
That's Mr. Callum.
Oh, okay, Mr.
Larry.
Callum. Hey, Larry. So here's what I would do. It looks like you may have taken my picture and expanded it. Is there a way to minimize me?
No, we've got 4 pictures on here. I don't know how to get to where we're supposed to get. I'm sorry. We can just listen.
No, you're okay.
Well, we're going to share this afterwards. We'll send it to everyone. Is that right, Heidi, or no?
Okay.
Yes, did you guys
Yeah.
send it already, Anne Marie?
I don't believe she did. No.
Okay,
Okay, all
if you have their email address,
Yep.
could you send it in the background so they can pick up with us?
Oh, I don't know if I have that access
Oh,
to
okay.
at this moment, but I mean, when it's over with, they'll get the copies. They'll get a copy of it.
All right,
Perfect.
I'll just mute us again. Thank you.
I'm
You're
sorry,
welcome.
Sharon.
That's okay.
And I may have to leave and go back to work. So thank you for sending.
Sure.
Absolutely.
There is an option called View Options. If you move your cursor to the upper middle of the screen, and then someone else said you can try Exit and Reconnect. Thank you, guys.
I will
Thank you.
never get back on.
Yeah, I was going to say that might be hard.
Okay. All
But
right.
thank you for that
We'll
tip.
just wait. Thank you so much.
Yes. Okay, so folks, you need to stop the inbound and evaluate. What I mean by evaluate, I'll give you an example. I have a couple in Lincolnton that I'm currently doing work for. And I opened up their refrigerator and I pulled out a jar of mayonnaise that was the size of my head. And I said, how many people are in this house? And they said, 2. And I said, do you eat this much mayonnaise? Like you probably are going to have a heart attack if you eat this much mayonnaise. And they said, oh, well, we like mayonnaise. We buy these jars at Costco. So now the jar of mayonnaise is 1/3 empty, 2/3 full. And I turn it over and I look at the expiration date and it says 12/16/2021. I was meeting with them on December 2nd. I said, folks, this jar is expiring in 2 weeks. Now, they didn't know that because not everybody looks at expiration dates, but here's the point. They raised 2 kids in this house. And it's a huge house. They raised 2 kids in this house, a dog, they have grandchildren. They are so conditioned buying at Costco that those giant sizes have now become the norm. Now, I just recently went through a divorce, so it's just me and my house, and I buy ketchup bottles that are this big. I buy mayonnaise jars that are this big. So what I would challenge you to do, specifically when it comes to food, is I want you to find the smallest jar, buy it, even if it's a little more expensive, and start evaluating what you are actually using. If you look at the picture on the left, those are Kleenex boxes from one of my clients who bought from Costco. And the next is packages of napkins. What I have done with a Sharpie marker on each of those is I put a date. If you buy from Costco, put a date on the item so that you can see how long it took you to go through that item. You need to understand that space, once you take it up, it's gone. So on that table, you can't put anything else on that table where those napkins and Kleenex boxes are. It's gone. So if you want space, you have to get rid of stuff. That's just the way of the world. So when buying an item, try to buy the smallest size to start off with, especially for those of you that had kids, because I see it mostly with parents. Costco and Sam's Club, I would suggest you stop purchasing from there. I'm not sure if you guys know, I'm not saying shut off your memberships 100%. I'm saying just take a break. Costco has a shopping, it's called merchandising, all that fun signage and pricing and packaging. That whole category is called merchandising. Costco has a merchandising strategy called the treasure map. If you notice, you walk into their stores, there is no map. And to make it even more fun for you, on purpose, they move everything. The goal is to get you wandering around and looking all over the place because they have proven that you will buy more stuff. So you can't just go into the Costco. There are certain categories you can, obviously, like frozen stuff. They're not going to move the freezers, but certain items you cannot go into the store and find it. It's like, wait a minute, it was here the other day and now it's on the other side of the store. They do that on purpose. That is part of the psychology of shopping. And it's something I used to do as a retail buyer. So you need to take a break from your Costco and your Sam's Club. You need to evaluate your inventory in your house, envelopes, office supplies. When I first looked at office supplies, when I was in corporate America, I had 5 boxes of staples and paper clips and printer paper. Folks, we're going digital. So if you're not comfortable with digital, that's okay. But if you are, I'm not sure all those office supplies make sense. If you do have a lot of office supplies, you can go through a nonprofit that Mecklenburg County runs. It's called Classroom Central, and it supports all the teachers in Mecklenburg County. Catalogs, shut off your catalogs. As catalogs come in, place a phone call to the 800 number, go online, shut those off. Even if the catalog does not, even if the catalog says we don't sell your information, they do trade. So they say, oh, well, we don't sell your information. They do trade it with other companies. And in some cases, they do sell it. I see a question in chat. Bear with me one second. Oh, okay, I see. The bottom picture in the corner, for those that are 60 and up, 55 and up, the bottom picture in the corner is a picture of catalogs by a company called Potpourri, and they are an insidious company. I've had several discussions with them after my father died in 2019. They have 23 catalogs. If you buy from one of them or on their website, you will be added to their entire distribution list for all their catalogs, which is not fun. So catalogs is just shopping. It's just retail coming in, turning you on with glitz and glam, and you're buying stuff. Shut those off. You can always turn them back on if you want them back on. Let's see, we have, yes. Gail says, try to unsubscribe from store emails. Yes, you can also send those to the spam folder, but essentially you want to stop the inbound. Most people don't think of it that way, but start looking around your house and start seeing what inventory you have. And I want you to group your inventory. So for example, if you have Crest toothpaste, extra toothbrushes, toilet paper, all your bathroom supplies should be in one cabinet with all your supplies so that you always know where your extra stuff is. Same for your kitchen, versus spread out all over your bathroom. Like your husband might have some under the counter, you might have some under the counter, put it together. Then start seeing if you ever need to buy toothpaste again. Any questions on this? Okay, moving on. Step 2. Understand the goal and how to appreciate it and how to communicate it. Sorry. Most people dive into a decluttering project without having any understanding what the goal is. And the majority of my consultation, I do a 1-hour free consultation with clients, is to really understand their goal and then understand what the challenges are to get to that goal. So let's talk about how to communicate your goal. So this is step 2A, communicating the goal. This is think about your projects in terms of mini, small, medium, and large. And you should only be starting with mini if you haven't trained yourself yet on decluttering, start with a mini. So your goal is, I want to find my car keys when I need to run an errand. If you live in my mother's house, you will never find your car keys. Or her glasses. She has 10 pairs of glasses. We can never find those either. Find favorite coffee mug without removing the entire cupboard's contents. That would be it's a little bit bigger, right? I want my kitchen table to be free of clutter all the time. I want to be able to have friends and family over at any time without having to spend 3 weeks cleaning the house in advance. That's a really big project. We're talking about a house project. In some cases, clients will say to me, I really need this room decluttered. And I will say, well, in order for us to declutter this room, we need to declutter these other areas to take pressure off this room. Because some things in that room don't live there, but there's no room for them outside in the rest of the house. So we got to fix the rest of the house and then we can get into this room. With respect to the car keys, and I want my kitchen table to be free of clutter all the time. Those may not be declutter projects. Those may be discipline projects where you need to clear the table. And then you and I set up a kind of productivity check. Like every time at the end of the day, you're going to clear that table and make sure that table's clear every day. It may be more of a practice than necessarily a decluttering project. That's okay. We identify that. All right, so let's talk about communicating the goal in another way. Safety. I don't want to kill myself in the middle of the night going to the bathroom. Okay, that's my mom's house. My mother, as you know, is a mild hoarder, and you may wonder why her house is not completely beautified because I am her daughter. It is because the one person you, as a professional, the one person you're not supposed to declutter is your mother. But my mother won't work with anyone but me. So we work on it very slowly, and she's doing great. But sometimes I don't want to kill myself in the middle of the night going to the bathroom. Productivity. When I go to work in the morning, I want to know exactly what I'm going to wear. Perhaps you want the room to be a different function. I want to be able to have a library and read and watch TV. So I might want to have a movie area and a TV area. We do this a lot with garages, for example. Somebody may want to park their garage on one side, park their car on one side, and they have a workout section on the other side of the garage. Some people, it's a feeling. I just want to feel, I don't want to be stressed out, right? Visual clutter and clutter in general creates a lot of stress. If you are someone who is comfortable with clutter, if you are someone who describe yourself as a hoarder, some people in that world think clutter is comforting to them. In actuality, it is incredibly stressful. And for anyone, clutter is stressful, but for those folks, they actually have a belief that clutter comforts them, and it's really the opposite. Okay. Step 3, start small and practice. Okay. These are self-starter projects that you should start with first before you start going to a big project. And the reason is, I do not want to be called to your house and your entire living room is destroyed and you guys stopped after 3 hours. Okay. Because that's hard. And I would feel bad because you had worked so many hours and it wasn't quite done. You don't want to set yourself up for failure. So let's talk about why coffee mugs, self-starter coffee mugs. I have coffee mugs as a first project, and here is why. Let me show you how I make decisions on coffee mugs. The green coffee mug at the top, I hate. I cannot stand that design of coffee mug. So when I had 40, I love coffee. I had 40 coffee mugs when I was married, and we had a bunch of these the green coffee mug. We had a ton of those, not in that color. They were, logoed and, various Olympics and whatever we'd picked up when we'd gone picked up souvenirs. But it turns out that I don't like straight-sided coffee mugs. I do not like the bottom of that coffee mug. The coffee mug on the bottom is a more feminine look. It's got the snowman. It's got a nice angled handle. It's got this pretty bottom. I don't know why, but when I started decluttering my coffee mugs, I realized that coffee mugs have a very, very finite set of things that you're going to like and dislike. That's what makes them very easy to make decisions on. So there's a handle, there's the cup itself, there's the weight, and maybe the design. The other reason I like this, typically I recommend that anything broken, automatic throwaway. In this case, this cup has been glued together twice. It's a friend of mine. She gave it to me 14 years ago. I loved having tea in it in the wintertime, and I'm not giving it up. Sorry, I'm not going to give it up. I'm going to give up the green coffee mugs because they're just not special to me. And for some reason, coffee drinking is something I enjoy in the morning. When you go through these projects, if you notice, I'm learning about myself. I'm learning about, and my clients do this too, except when they work with me on a private basis, I am sitting there showing them what we're learning together. So, oh, so isn't it interesting? You have a coffee mug, all these coffee mugs you didn't want are straight-sided. All of these coffee mugs have grandma on them. I had one client that she only wanted the coffee mugs with grandma because they were given to her by her grandchildren, and she had quite a few of those. So my job is often to pick up what the client may not be picking up, so that we can apply those learnings to other categories. All right, pantry. Pantry items are really easy. Why? Typically, pantry items are easy because they have a date on them. And if they are not dated, throw them out. That should be an automatic rule. If they're not dated, throw them out. If they are about to expire, ask yourself, am I going to use this? And if you are not, then you should try to get it to a local food bank, which if you're working with Life Easier, will take that for you. Framed photos, or just photos in general. Any photos that are in picture frames, let's go ahead and remove those. I don't know how many houses I go to where there are boxes of picture frames in closets. Think about those picture frames and how much space they take up in that closet, because you have taken these large picture frames that are usually about an inch thick, put them in a box, and then you put all those in a closet. If you take the pictures out and you put them in a photo safe box, now your pictures are in a much smaller container, and you can use that space, that extra space that you have that you just created. Any questions on that? Okay.
Heidi,
Christy.
just
Yes.
real quick, I have a question.
Sure.
So you have things like coffee mugs that your children have given you,
Yes.
that they thought were just so quirky that you would love this, and it sits on a decorative shelf because you don't drink out of it because it's not really something you want to drink out of.
Right.
But I can't bear to part with it. Do I just part with it and not tell them, or how do you handle something like that?
Okay, so this is where some of the psychology of stuff comes in. First of all, there are about 7 different types of guilt that come with gifts. And believe it or not, you just said you have gift guilt, essentially, because your kids gave you this item and it meant something to them. Now, here's the thing. I would suggest having a conversation with your children, not show them the mug, but say, listen, I have a question for you guys. I am going to go through the decluttering process on my home. And I know that you guys gave me some presents, and I might not want to keep all of them. Will you have any issues with that? Are there any gifts that you felt were incredibly special? Now, if they get defensive, which some might, they might say, oh, well, you can't list off to me what's special to you that I gave you when I was 5. I get it. They might go there, and that's okay. Some of them might, some of them not. What you may say to them is, what you can do from a decluttering standpoint is you can take all of your children's gifts and put them together. As you go through the house, set them aside in a box or a container, one of those Rubbermaid containers you've now freed. And then say to your children, I want to keep this, this, and this. I really am not interested in keeping these other things. Are you okay with that? And in many cases, so here's what I deal with. The daughter saying, I wish she'd just get rid of everything. And then I talk to the mother and go, I can't get rid of it because she gave it to me. And then when I bring the two parties together, the daughter goes, I don't care if you get that mug. I don't even remember buying that for you. So there is an expectation that they will be upset, and there is an expectation that they don't want you to keep stuff. And so by coming together, pick out selected items that are special to you. Perhaps they triggered a memory. Your daughter made a rug out of fabric, and she did it at this age. And when she presented it to you, you remember her face. Those are the things that you can share those memories with your daughter and say, yes, I got this coffee mug for Christmas. And yes, I think it's funny, but this is what I really value and why. Does that help?
Yeah, definitely. Mhm.
Okay. Hold on one second. We have a note in the chat. I've heard of the Marie Kondo method. I don't really understand it other than you should only keep items that bring you joy. Is your approach similar? Kind of. Marie Kondo gets something. So I try to read all of the expert advice in the market, because what I do is I have a process. And then what I do is I tailor the process based on a person's emotional and mental state. So what I mean by that is the Marie Kondo method doesn't always work for certain people, but let me give you an example. What we are talking about here would be the Marie Kondo method, putting all your coffee mugs together, all your pantry items. Marie Kondo's method is predominantly focused on category, going through all your clothes, going through all of your linens. That's her method. The problem where you run into a buzzsaw with Marie Kondo's method is emotional items. I'll give you an example. One of my clients had probably 300 jigsaw puzzles, and most of them she had not opened. And as we went through the jigsaw puzzles, I could not understand why she wouldn't get rid of them. So we just continued to talk. She did not one, not two, not three, but 4 passes with me through jigsaw puzzles. And what I discovered was that the jigsaw puzzles represented hope. She wanted to do the jigsaw puzzles. She had hoped to do with the jigsaw puzzles with her sister, who had died the year prior. Her sister was a huge fan of jigsaw puzzles, and it was something they did together. And I asked her, I said, why don't you just set up a jigsaw puzzle at the end of the table? You know, to say, use the word just, be very careful with that, because that's a horrible word for anyone to use when you're talking about decluttering, because it's never that easy. But I said, why don't you just set up a jigsaw puzzle at the end of the table? And she said, but then I'm just by myself. Oh my God, that's when I started crying, because jigsaw puzzles were a social activity for her. So the item wasn't necessarily important to keep for her. What was important was that she had a social activity. So when I moved her to Florida, I worked with her daughter and said, we need to make a to-do list. These are the things she wants to do. She wants to be active. So down in Florida, she has a jigsaw puzzle table, and she has a neighbor down the street, and they work on it together. But if the jigsaw puzzle isn't something that she wants to do right now, her daughter has other social activities planned so that her mother can go for a walk on the boardwalk with her at 4 o'clock. So it was less about the jigsaw puzzle and more about the memory and more about social. So Gail, yes, the Marie Kondo method works mostly with non-emotional items. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Some people that I work with, one more piece on Marie Kondo. Marie Kondo talks about categories, and then she says, so this is This is a candle holder from Norway. One of my cousins, my dad's from Norway, and one of my cousins gave me this, and I say, oh, I just love this. This is my favorite thing. This brings me joy. And then this what is it? Glass protector for my coaster. This coaster, this brings me joy. Marie Kondo says, if it doesn't bring you joy, don't keep it. Not all of my clients are self-aware enough to understand what brings them joy. In their version, in their world, everything brings them joy. And so then we're stuck, right? Because they're holding on to things for other reasons. Okay, so it is a good approach. It doesn't work for everyone, but it is a good approach to use. Okay, so hazardous waste. What is hazardous waste? We're talking about cooking oils, any type of aerosolized product, paint, chemicals. I know it sounds crazy, guys, but go through every single one of your bathrooms and your kitchen, collect all of your chemicals, then go into your garage, collect all your chemicals, put them together, and holy cow, you will have a lot. Mecklenburg County has 4 drop-off sites. I'm happy to provide those, but they're on the Mecklenburg County website. You can drop them off. It's the hazardous waste area for each of those sites, but it's a good way of creating space in your home and practicing the decluttering process. Remember, we are starting small and we are learning. Medications should be taken to Walgreens or CVS. Please do not throw those down the toilet and do not throw them in your trash. Landfills do have water runoff. When the rain comes down, the water goes through into the landfill. It gets pulled off as leachate, and that is a hazardous material. So take your medications to Walgreens or CVS. In the state of North Carolina, the Pharmaceutical Association has a beautiful program to dispose of those items. I believe they're burned. Okay, we can talk about the environmental effects of burning at another day, but it does work and it doesn't hurt our water table. Sell anything you plan to sell, give to family or friends. There was an interesting couple up in Pennsylvania last year who were highlighted in one of the major papers. They had a party and they served champagne. They were in their 70s. They served champagne in their 60th wedding anniversary glasses, which were to be given away. They cleaned up their house and they invited everyone they knew. And they said, take whatever you want. And all of their stuff went to friends. And then anything that was left over, they gave to charity. That's an option. Some people have psychological issues where if I want something of yours, now suddenly they want to keep it. So if you're that person, that's not a good idea. Fancy clothes are usually things you can start to get rid of. I realize there's probably memories. Great thing to do with clothes or other items. I think it was Anne Marie that asked the question about the coffee mug from the daughter. Take pictures. You can take pictures of things. There was a woman, one of our clients in the National Association of Senior and Specialty Move Managers. She traveled all over the world and she had, I think it was 82 teapots from every country she had gone to. She had gotten a teapot. And the senior move manager took pictures of every single teapot, sent them to the company, like Snap something, I can't remember the name, but they made a coffee table book of all of her teapots. I mean, how cool is that? She kept 3 and she took them to her senior care community. Now, if I were doing that, I would probably want to write the story. So you have the picture of the teapot and then the story behind each teapot on the opposing page. Those are just some ideas that you guys can think about. I think the rest of these make sense. Here's the kicker. If you're looking at these and you are hyperventilating, you should hire a professional, okay? If you can handle these on your own, then great, do so. But if getting through some of these projects is hard, hire a professional. I will say that I can do a whole house or I can do 3 hours and teach you. It's not a problem. My goal is to actually work myself out of this business because Snapfish, thank you, Brian. Snapfish is the company that will make that beautiful book. If everyone were decluttered and minimalist, I'd find something else to do, but right now I really love what I do. Okay, any questions on this slide? Okay. Ooh, I got 10 minutes left and I don't know how many slides I have, but a lot. All right, step 4, follow up before starting another project. Oh, I don't have that many slides. We're good. Folks, what you don't realize is that when you do decluttering, there's a whole list of stuff that still has to get done. Again, professionals will handle this for you, these steps for you, but you're going to need to bank in time. For example, do you need to get boxes, bags, or packing paper to pack up the items you want to get rid of? You just went through your coffee mugs. How are you going to take them to Habitat Restore or Furnish for Good or Goodwill? They're good. If you just throw them in a box, they're all going to break and then it's just trash. Do you need to email or text someone like a family member to ask if they want this item? This candle holder from Norway. If I think my nephew wants it, I'm going to take a picture of it and text it to him. And if he says he doesn't want it and I don't have anybody else to give it to, I need to go ahead and let this go to a charity. If he doesn't want it, and I'm speaking to those of you with children, just as children bullying their parents is not decluttering, parents guilting their kids into taking their stuff is not okay either. Okay. My dad was really big on this. He would go, oh, you need this. I brought it over from Norway on the Mayflower and blah, blah, blah. And I'd have to feel bad about it. But please don't fill your children's homes with guilt. Okay. If they want something from your house, great. If they don't, it's okay. And the reason I say that is legacy is not stuff. Legacy is your woodworking capability. It's your problem solving ability. It's the way you make Thanksgiving dinner. It's things that create memories, but I will tell you, your legacy is not stuff. And if you don't know what your legacy is and you have children, ask your children what they think your legacy is and see what they say. Does the item or items need to be packed and shipped for a family or friend or dropped off? Do you need to ship it UPS? Are you willing to pay the shipping? Are you willing to pay the insurance? Are you able to drive to Wilmington, North Carolina or Raleigh, North Carolina to give them this item? If you want to give it to them. Do you know of an agency, Gail just asked, do you know of an agency or a charity that takes old mobile phones? So I believe Best Buy has a drop-off center for cell phones. Apple obviously takes their cell phones, and then Verizon and some of the others will also take their own, but I believe Best Buy has a drop-off for those. I do not know of a charity that takes them. Goodwill, you can drop off all electronics, cell phones and otherwise, to Goodwill. However, they may not actually use them. They may just simply have a disposal arrangement with Mecklenburg County. When I talk, yes.
I was just gonna say, Gail, I'm not sure where you're located and I don't remember the name offhand. I can find out, but there is a domestic violence nonprofit that will take your phones for women to have. They don't even have to be on a plan. It's just for them to be able to dial 911 when they need it. So if that's something that interests you, I can find out, where you're located and point you in the right direction if you're interested.
Yes,
in that.
I'm in the Charlotte area.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Well, I'll have your email, so I'll email you.
Great,
Awesome.
thank you.
Do you need to schedule a pickup by a local charity, or do you need to load your car and take it to them? For example, Habitat Restore can be 3 weeks out. Furnish for Good is picking up next week at one of my clients' homes. They are very good at picking up furniture. So you have to call them and you have to schedule and you have to go through the website. Are you good with websites and uploading photos? If you're not, you either need to ask for help from one of your children to get rid of these items before you start the new project. Do you have concerns about donating to charities that sell your things? So Goodwill, Salvation Army, Habitat Restore, they will sell your things for a profit to further their mission. Charities that give items directly to their client base, a food bank, I forgot a parenthesis there, sorry. A food bank, sometimes the homeless shelters will give things. During COVID, some things, they were not taking in kind items. They wanted to take new items because well, because of COVID, we were in a pandemic, or we still are. Do you need to take anything to Mecklenburg County Recycling, a landfill drop-off center? Do you have something nice? You won't have no idea where it could go. So you just want to make sure it doesn't get thrown away. Are some of the items too heavy and you need people to, you need to hire people to move them? Think of a gun safe. We got to figure out what to do with that. That's heavy. A freezer, an old freezer in your garage that hasn't been defrosted in 10 years. I've had several of those. Are you wanting to auction everything? Are you wanting to sell it? That all takes time. So you want to get all of these items to their locations and then start your next project. Because if you don't, you will wind up with a garage full of to-dos, because your entire garage or your closet or your kitchen, wherever you're storing these follow-ups, will just build and you'll never get to them. Okay, any questions? Okay. Oh, that was Sweeney. Sweeney says hi to everybody. I just wanted to say thank you very much to everyone. Do you have any questions in general about decluttering that I can answer for you?
And if you
Okay.
do, make sure you come off of mute so we can hear you.
Okay. I see someone in the chat. That might be Gail. Hold on. Oh, good. Yes, if you did find this valuable, please let Anne-Marie know. I would love to hear feedback. If there are specific things you want me to talk about, like how to run a garage sale, or how to have Christmas without presents, or how to be more green when you're getting rid of stuff, I'm happy to put together presentations on anything you guys are interested in this realm. But otherwise, everybody have a great day. Good luck in your projects.
Wait, hold on.
Oh,
No, that's okay. I had some questions that I wanted to ask you about. So,
perfect.
yeah, so I think the thing, or I guess, or just a comment and say how valuable that was that you said about making sure that you don't move on to the next decluttering project until you've
Right.
completely taken care of that one. I think
Yeah.
that was always my problem in the past. Great, I decluttered this part of the living room. Now I'm going to go do the bathroom, but then I've got these stacks of things all over.
Well, there's
that's super
another
helpful.
piece to that. Don't expect your decluttering project to be done in one day. You should
Oh,
break
no.
it up across multiple days, and you should not do it all day. Your brain won't stay there. So there are studies that have shown that if you go at a certain point, you're just going to keep everything. You're just brain dead. So you need to be really cognizant of what you're capable of. Some of my clients can go 30 minutes, some can go 45, some can go 6 hours with me. But if you're making decisions, you want to make sure you're making good decisions and you feel good about them. If you are putting things into the garage to get rid of, and then you're going back and you're second guessing yourself, you might need a professional to help you.
Right. Gotcha. And as we mentioned, this has been recorded, and if Heidi's still okay with that, I think it was great. We will send that out to everyone afterwards in a couple of days, get that out to you with an email. Does anybody have anything else that they need right now?
Yes. Okay, so there's a really great question from Christy. Thank you,
Good.
Christy. Hi, which area of the house would you suggest to work on first if all areas are cluttered? So the first problem you have if all areas are cluttered is you have no space. So I would suggest using a bedroom, because a bed makes a great sorting area. It's nice and big. If you have a dining room table, that would help too. You want to pick categories. Remember, you don't necessarily have to do a room, but if you're going to do a room, you want to pick the easiest things first. Go easiest to hard, left to right in a room, or right to left. If you declutter your house and take a little bit from every room, you will never see progress, and you will call me. You will be out of emotional gas, and 80% of my clients call me during their consultation. They cry because they are so done with decluttering. So go left to right so you can see the space you're creating, or right to left, and then set yourself a time limit and don't go beyond that time limit. You might be in the zone, but don't go beyond that time limit. Give yourself 2 hours, pull it out, start sorting it, then the next, or categorizing it. And then the next day, start making some decisions while your brain is fresh and you've got that good cup of coffee, and start with the easiest items first. Go to the hardest items.
I found for me, the easiest stuff was what needed to be shredded, perhaps, like
Oh,
information. I know you didn't touch about shredding, but yeah, I came up with a very large amount of things that needed to be shredded that I apparently have been hanging on to and didn't really need to.
so financial paperwork, I do that privately. I don't have any employees that work on financial organization. Mecklenburg County does shred events on Saturdays. So once they get back on their schedule, you can bring 3 bankers boxes. You drive up, you hand them the bankers boxes, and you literally watch them go into the 18-wheeler and get shredded. So put those dates on your calendar. And my company, if you subscribe to our Facebook and Instagram, we help to publish that for Mecklenburg County. Put those on your calendar, and then every week work on your financial paperwork and use those dates as your deadlines to get, and the reward is you get to, I get to get rid of 3 boxes of stuff. The rule of thumb is you need to keep your financial paperwork for 7 years. That's what the IRS requires for audit purposes. You can keep it digitally or you can keep it in paper. Some of my clients, they want both. We do that, that's fine. So if you are looking at paperwork from 2001, get rid of it. That's a great call out, Anne Marie. Financial paperwork's a good start. Coffee mugs, clothing, specifically clothing is really good to do, but specifically coats, outerwear is less emotional than some of the other things. If you go and put clothes on, you're getting ready to go out on Friday and you start peeling clothes off because they don't look right. Guess what? You just picked out what you need to get rid of, because if it doesn't look right, get rid of it. If you're someone who has lost a lot of weight, gained a lot of weight, lost a lot of weight, folks, I'm just going to be honest. When I lost 18 pounds 2 years ago, I've gained 10 pounds back. It didn't go back to the same place it came from. So just because you saved your clothes thinking you're going to be able to wear them again, you may not, because your butt might be bigger than your boobs. And that just, it was opposite before. So anyway.
Well, the other thing about medication, I went around trying to find, because believe it or not, between 3 bathrooms, I had a huge amount of expired, even over the counter stuff. So yes, what it is, it's a medication box. At least this was at CVS, like Heidi was telling you. Yep. And it's a big medication box. You can just dump your medications in there. It's a locked box. No one else can see it or look in it. And if you have liquids, they have to be in a Ziploc bag before you can put them in there. So definitely, I had a huge amount that I just had no idea we had.
I put almost all of my medications in Ziplocs just because I don't want the pills going around. But we had another question about hoarding, how to approach a hoarder. I will tell you that the worst thing you can do with a hoarder is say you're a hoarder, because what do you do with that? You've just been called a hoarder. What do you do with that? You're sitting with all this stuff in your house. If your caregiver's overwhelmed, you're overwhelmed as the hoarder, right? First of all, hoarding disorder is a disorder. It must be diagnosed by a medical professional. There is not a lot of support in Charlotte. I do have a connection to a therapist that does hoarding support. So, and we work in tandem. She does the therapy portion and I do the decluttering portion in the house. How to approach a hoarder. It is, if the hoarder is in your family, chances are there have been a lot of bruising in your relationship between, say, a mother and a daughter, or a daughter and a father. I would suggest bringing in a professional. I do work with hoarders a lot. There is a group called the International ICD. I may have to send it to Anne Marie. I always, I can't, it's something disorder. They actually have it's on my website. If you go to the hoarding resources tab on my website, there is a hoarder scale. Print that, read it, and try to figure out where your family member is in the hoarding scale to see how extreme they are. Hoarding is based typically in trauma, a car accident, a rape, molestation, physical abuse, elderly abuse. And the hoarding is an offshoot of because they have probably been untreated or their therapist doesn't know. I am the daughter of 2 hoarders, so I have some hoarding tendencies. I don't actually amass the product. I don't shop at all. I have what's called perfectionism. It's why I'm really good at keeping things out of landfills. So it actually works to my advantage. But there are certain characteristics associated with hoarding, psychological characteristics. I have worked with a number of hoarders, and either you need to work with someone from ICD, that's the organization, or I can talk to you offline. I'm happy to do a 1-hour consult. Hoarding in and of itself is a very complex and an extremely sensitive topic, and you don't want to go in with force. If you go in with force and you handle a hoarder wrong, you will make them worse. And that TV show is awful. I don't like that show. How they treat the hoarders is awful, but they're also being threatened by the county and the city. In most cases, it's gotten so bad, they didn't catch them early enough. Hopefully I kind of gave you some answers, but check my website, www.life-easier.com, hoarding resources.
Heidi, do you have that screen available where you could just put up where your website was real quick in case people don't want to
Sure.
wait until they get our email? At least they'll have it.
Yes.
Great.
Let
In case
me,
you guys want to write it down if you've got something to write with. Or you're fancy and you can type it into your computer while you're on this Zoom thing.
let's see. I'm going to share my screen.
Do you still have it? You do, right?
There we go. Yes. So this is my website, Life Easier. I don't know this person. That's a stock photo. We do try to use our photos. We're actually in the process of making changes to that. You'll see our team. There's me, there's Rolf. This is the hoarding resources tab. The way it is set up, that's me. Some of my family members suffer from hoarding disorder. I get it. As a caregiver, I want to tear my hair out, but you can't get emotional because you'll just make it work. You'll make it harder. These are some interesting facts about hoarding disorder. This is getting started. These are hoarding, the basic symptoms, hoarding scale. This is, there it is. The Institute for Challenging Disorganization, ICD. I'm actually looking to get a certificate in it, although I've lived with a hoarder, so I kind of feel like I already have a certificate in it, but I'm going to get the official certificate to work through them. Is hoarding disorder, and yes, the photograph on the right is one of my clients, is hoarding related to obsessive compulsive disorder? The answer is yes and no. If you've watched the television show, disorder was associated with OCD, but in actuality, the comorbidity is actually MDD, which is major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, social phobia or SP, and now OCD. So actually OCD is 4th on the list. This is more information on the comorbidity of hoarding disorder. Hoarding disorder is now classified as of 2013 as a true disorder. So the insurance should cover it for treatment for therapy. How, and this is, I think, for the person that asked this, I think this is where I may be helping you, how to communicate with and help your loved ones. These are actually videos and PowerPoint decks on things to say. And words to use that may be more appropriate if you're trying to work with the hoarder yourself. Not everybody has the funds to hire a professional, and I get that. So I want to make sure you're empowered to get that. And then in some cases, yes, the photograph on the right is one of the projects I worked on with my team, staging an intervention. Some people need to get to that point. Hopefully, if we're talking about hoarding, we're talking about mild, and we can kind of catch it before it gets a little too much. Hopefully that helps. Okay.
Any other
Anything? Yeah.
Do you have one? Because I'm not seeing it in the chat when you see them, so they must be sending them directly to you.
Okay. Nope, I don't see any more. One more thing I wanted to mention about hoarding, but also decluttering in general. You need to be aware of your speed. Caregivers want to go really fast, and you may not. You may want to sit. I'll give you an example. My mother and I don't fight anymore about stuff. We put things on a kitchen table. She sits with it for 5 days. She walks by it. She thinks about it. She thinks about why she has it. She tries to remember who gave it to her or the memory or whatever. And after 5 days, then I can ask her, okay, can we get rid of the 4 crock pots that you have? Forcing someone to get rid of something is very difficult if you don't understand why they're keeping it. And in many cases, there's a fear there. And in other cases, it's because their new life hasn't been built for them. So they're hanging on to their old life because they are not sure what the new life is going to look like. They might be moving to a senior care community. They might be moving to a family home. So that's part of where I step in and kind of work with the family. I do a lot of refereeing with families to understand what my client, who is the person that needs to declutter, wants and needs through that process. But speed, forcing a process to go faster than it should is going to, all you're going to do is shut that person down. So just be really sensitive to it. Okay, I don't see any other questions. So the 29 people who are on here, thank you so much for
Yes.
coming. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry I went over, and thank you.
No, I know it was obviously, very good information. Thank you so much, Heidi, for carving time out of your day.
Sure.
You brought a lot of good information to the table. I was over here like making notes, and then I thought, oh, right, no, we recorded this.
Yes, we
good.
recorded it. Yes.
I can play this for a family member.
Yes, I think that's a good idea. Yeah,
Right.
sometimes, yeah. And I'm going to be doing some videos on Facebook that are specifically to caregivers, like, hey, stop bullying your parents. And by the way, get your crap out of your parents' house, because
Right.
I love the kids that say, Mom, you need to declutter. And then I open up a cabinet and the mom says to me, that's my son's stuff. And I'm like, get him over here and let's get rid of this stuff. So
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. No, but
Have a-
thank you very much. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone, for coming. We're so glad that you were able to attend, and we'll be sending more information out about next month's virtual support group. But we also have our Wellness Wednesday on Wednesday, January 19th, and I'll be leading us through resolutions versus mindsets, talking a little bit more about planning goals with a purpose instead of just flinging out some resolutions out there. So hopefully you'll join us on Wednesday at 3:30. Thanks all. Have a great day. Bye, everyone. Thank you all. Bye. Bye-bye.